My people, what is up? I'm Taylor, and this is the Lioneye podcast, where we share life philosophies and mental models to keep our days pumping. And today I want to talk to you about the art of letting go while simultaneously being your best self. Letting go is one of the hardest things to do, and it's absolutely a daily battle one goes through. It's quite a philosophical discussion, right? Because it's really about one's frame of mind. Now, I want to be really specific what I'm talking about. There's multiple avenues of letting go. For example, someone might think about their past or their mistakes or relationships they miss, or perhaps current circumstances they wish they could change. But what I'm going to focus on today is letting go of outcomes and letting go of what the future holds. But the art is doing this while simultaneously being your best self. Now, you might be thinking, how can I let go of what the future holds when I have life goals and aspirations I'm trying to accomplish, and my passion is deeply emotionally charged? I get it. I'm not a robot. I have emotions and feelings and, emotional charging with it as well. I assure you by the end of this episode, you'll walk away with at least thought provocation, or even better, a unique perspective and perhaps actionable insights. So I want to introduce several themes and then tie them together and sharing how I try to think about this art. In this episode, I focus on strategy. I don't necessarily go into actionable steps, but you can research these concepts to learn helpful, practical techniques. So the first theme is knowing your purpose. And that means knowing why you wake up and get out of bed every morning. It's something in your life that gives you meaning. It makes you feel valuable or driven to make your life or other lives better. And I think across our lives, our purpose changes, and that's by design. When you're 20 and just starting your career, you will feel a different purpose than a 70-year-old nearing the end of their life, right? You can also have multiple purposes. I think at a point in everyone's life, they do find more of an infinite purpose for themselves, something they continue through to the end of their life. And I think that's really powerful. Your first long-lasting sense of purpose can take a long time to come to you, and that's okay. It took me until 32 to feel a sense of purpose strong enough to truly drive and motivate my day-to-day. I felt somewhat passionless before that. I think a big factor can be your overall health and growth, which I'll get into in future episodes. If you don't feel your sense of purpose yet, keep trying new things and say yes to new experiences, especially if they make you uncomfortable. Comfort is where you've already been. I'll say that again. Comfort is where you've already been, and you didn't find your purpose there, so keep searching. And one other thought I want to share is I don't think it's healthy to have one of your core or primary purposes be another individual or set of individuals. Placing your purpose in such a mortal and emotionally binding entity can be catastrophic if things go really off the rails. I love the quote from Naval Ravikant that life is a single player game, and it truly is, right? Focus on fulfilling yourself. I think humans are maybe not initially, but eventually altruistic in nature. So those later in life always end up desiring to reconcile and provide wisdom to younger people and loved ones. And I think that altruism comes out more and more the later we get in life. And sometimes it can take until someone's deathbed, but I think even if it takes until then, it does come in my experience. The second theme I want to cover is presence and flow state. I think everyone knows what presence is and feels it often, but it's truly becoming harder in today's world with accelerating digitalization. True presence is being completely and wholeheartedly engaged in what you're currently doing, whether it's a task, a conversation, or even just thinking. Yeah, thinking. I think you can be present thinking, and a great example is you're not present when you're daydreaming, thinking about the past or the future. Now, if you're doing strategic long-term planning, that's different, right? But you want to stay focused with your thinking. Presence would be the time you're super focused on a thought chain of processing something that's related to a task. Anyway, flow state is similar to presence, but I like to think of it in terms of chain presence. This is when you're organized and focused on a set of things, and you're able to seamlessly navigate those things and maintain focus over time. So perhaps across an hour or multiple hours or a day, but really you could extend this as long as you're able to. Now, while I think flow state is critical, you obviously don't want to completely live in that state, nor can you And typically what I found is the longer I'm in this state, the more narrow-minded I become, almost as if the focus becomes a smaller and smaller tunnel. And then sometimes I'll lose sight of the bigger picture. So you need to take a step back and abstract from that state of focus sometimes to think about that long-term strategy and planning. In any case, this state is very powerful, and things like meditation can be extremely helpful, especially if you're an overthinker like me. Another simple method to kick off presence is looking around the physical area you're in and noticing 3 objects. I learned that in therapy, and that can be really helpful. The third theme I want to talk about is life momentum and consistency. And what I'm talking about here is continuous effort toward your goals, whatever those goals are. But really, your goals should touch all areas of your life, right? We have all these different pillars of life: your health, your physical well-being, mental well-being, your career, your relationships, your hobbies. So there's all kinds of skills and pillars. And maybe you want to develop better social skills to talk to random people at a coffee shop, or approach women to ask out on dates, or maybe you want to learn how to code for your career, or start a content creation outlet like I'm doing here. Maybe you want to learn how to cook or horseback ride or whatever. The best way to grow and give yourself confidence is to do the things you may feel anxiety or hardship in doing. It's through continuous progressive momentum and consistency that those things get easier. I want you to think about a time in your life when you learned something. I remember when I first entered the financial markets and was learning about stocks and options and charts and indicators and how to build a portfolio and all that stuff. At first it can be daunting, but over time you build confidence, and the foundational concepts you learned support understanding and retaining more advanced concepts. It's very much a chain thread, a chain synapse connection. And it's the exact same thing with literally anything in life, in your character, in yourself that you're trying to work on and improve. Literally anything, especially the things that are emotionally charged. Maybe you're afraid of public speaking, that's emotionally charged. Maybe you feel fear and anxiety and have body trembles or other physical challenges with it. But the more you do it, the more you get desensitized, and that's key. Being desensitized doesn't mean you aren't sensible. It just means you're in flow state, allowing your thoughts to focus on the things you need to be doing and the next steps in your actions, instead of focusing on negative or emotional reflexes or embarrassment or whatever. I've personally found it best to focus on just 3 to 5 skills at a time, say for 2 to 3 months, and to always pull in ones you're weaker in when deciding which to work on. The overall progress for each individual skill is slower because of the limited time and context switching, but it better supports being well-rounded, so you're as capable as possible at any given point in time for whatever life throws at you, right? And life always throws random things at random times, and you just never know what life is going to give you. And the cliche chain is only as strong as the weakest link deeply applies here. It really does. The fourth theme I want to talk about is abundance mindset. Abundance mindset is similar to positivity. It's truly thinking and believing that good things will happen and there's an abundance of great outcomes. And I promise you there is. When you're going into any situation, think about the positive way it can go and really fantasize living that reality. The better you can do this, the better you'll stay in a flow state and the better you'll behave, because you'll be thinking about what will go right, even if it doesn't, instead of what could go wrong, even if it doesn't. I have to say that again, listen closely. It's so critical. The better you can do this, the better you'll stay in a flow state and the better you'll behave, because you'll be thinking about what will go right, even if it doesn't, instead of what could go wrong, even if it doesn't. And that's critical because it doesn't have to go wrong. And oftentimes it doesn't. And the things that we worry about don't end up happening, the vast majority. So even if it doesn't go well though, abundance mindset says more opportunity will come, and it always does, but you have to be consistent. This theme is one of the core pieces of letting go. Outcomes are largely unpredictable, and that's okay. Again, abundance mindset says more opportunities come, and desired outcomes will come from enough opportunity. The only difference between desired outcomes and failure is the amount of failure. So this becomes an art though, because failure and rejection and challenge are really hard. They're hard for all of us. So the next theme will help with this, but one other thought is commenting on the fairly common wisdom of trying to not care. I think the ultimate message not caring desires to portray is lost in the words, because you literally can't not care. We're all human and thrive off of connection. So you can't develop connection while truly not caring. People will sense this and avoid you because you aren't being vulnerable and genuine and authentic. So it's more about caring and thinking about the positivity and optimism within the outcomes that can happen, and knowing that more opportunities are always right ahead if something doesn't go your way. So that leads into the fifth theme, which is calibrating to your equilibrium and working to stay level-headed in the midst of emotional volatility. Life and circumstances have ups and downs, and the spectrum of feeling can be so strong it shakes your core, or so modest you barely feel it. So you want to stay as neutral as possible. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or not feeling your feelings. You don't want to do that. Not feeling your feelings bottles them up, and they will eventually release with gusto, right? And likely negatively, even if it's a really positive emotion. That sounds weird, but if you try and bottle up a positive emotion, I don't think you're really letting that emotional energy flow through you. And I think it could turn into a negative one because you're not having that counterbalance from the counterbalance from your negative feelings. Now, some feelings are so powerful, such as falling in love. I hope everyone has experienced that. And if not, it is a wonderful feeling ahead. It can be one of the best experiences in life. It can truly feel like a drug. And I think it's our humanness to really let yourself experience that. Connection and feeling are a core fabric of our existence, right? And but what I am saying is, as feeling settles, or even better, staying mindful during the feeling, be sure to remind yourself that it's temporary and to stay on your purpose, stay on your momentum and consistency, stay in your flow state, and remember abundance mindset. Life in the world stops for nothing and no one, so enjoy, but don't forget that. And the sixth and final theme is not seeking approval. And this is one I consistently am still working on and struggle with, but it has been an absolute game changer in my life recently. I heard this concept before, but it didn't fully resonate until I heard it discussed by Robert Glover. The way he described it provided context that made me realize that literally almost any time I felt anxiety or fear or some inhibiting emotion in a social context, it could always be rooted back to approval. Approval that my behavior is acceptable, or what I'm sharing or expressing won't cause confrontation or judgment, or fear that I won't be liked. It's so much easier to be invisible in society, but then you're neutral to the world. So you're safe from those you'd connect with because they'll pass you by, but you're also missing those you could connect with the most. They won't see those behaviors and quirks that would attract them to you. So polarizing people is the way, which is what Robert Glover says. I believe this is from him. Polarizing draws in those that matter, those that choose you, and repels those who don't. So polarizing is absolutely critical, and it's been an interesting concept to adopt and run with, because obviously having disconnection with people can be pretty challenging, even though you are drawing in those people that you have the most connection with. And the cliche, choose people that choose you, definitely applies here. And I'll just say it's extremely hard. Sometimes we're drawn to people that are not good for us. And again, I'm still working on this one myself, definitely. So now that we've covered all the themes, and I weaved in some with each other, you can probably see where this is going. When you apply all of these things together, your purpose, presence and flow state, momentum and consistency, abundance mindset, maintaining equilibrium and not seeking approval, you optimize your mental health toward constant progression that has no other outcome except success. Time is relevant to each individual and their goals, but this is a great starting formula for moving toward the things you want out of life. When you're on your purpose, you stay focused. And when you're focused, you're present and go into a deep flow state. And when you focus on momentum and consistency, you have constant wins that give you more and more confidence. And when you maintain an abundance mindset and level-headed nature, you can get through the rough patches and keep pushing toward your goals. It's a perpetuating flywheel, right? And it derives its energy from what you put into it. But like I said, you want periods of rest from this, and periods where you process and recognize all you've achieved and do your long-term strategic planning so you can continuously realign your behaviors and actions toward your goals. And as you achieve them, you set new goals. And in my experience, these periods of rest usually don't last that long when you're truly in your groove and flow state. Because once you get into the rhythm, just like anything else in life, it's hard to stop. We become conditioned to what we do day in and day out. And when you adopt a formula like this and live it consistently, you adapt to those behaviors and those feelings, and you want to stay in that groove. And in that groove, you honestly don't have space or time to really overthink or overanalyze. You just flow because you're focusing on you and your journey. And it honestly is no different than addiction, but this is the healthy life satisfaction, life growth, spiritual, enlightening, fulfilling kind of addiction. You also have to optimize your physical health, but that's for a different episode. So at this point, you might be asking, okay, this is great for being my best self, but what is the art behind letting go? And I would say the art is in the formula. Again, when you're deep in this groove of your best self, you're painting your own picture. You're brushing strokes with every day you're improving. And the confidence and positive feelings from daily progress and achievement, combined with abundance mindset, puts you into an indescribable zone that only those who are in it can really understand. You stop thinking about outcomes. You stop thinking about the future. You're so focused on your daily activities. You're focused on executing them well. And as you gain those small wins and gain momentum, you learn to trust the process. The process never fails. It never fails. Never. It's going to take different amounts of time for different people, but the process never fails. And if you don't feel like you're getting into this state, keep going. I promise you, you will feel that momentum pick up. And once you're in that groove and you have that habitual cycle and the positive dopamine balance that goes into it, you will feel exactly what I'm talking about. And if there's any part of you that thinks the process does fail sometimes, again, that's our humanness at play. But don't lose the art. Go back to abundance mindset, and don't let life experience or your underlying beliefs misguide. So what's your purpose? What gets you up in the morning? If you don't know yet, keep pushing outside your comfort zone. Keep trying new things. Say yes when people ask you to do something you instinctually say no to because it feels challenging or gives you anxiety. Keep leveling up your skills. Keep working on your emotional health and learn to love the process. Because as you settle into that rhythm, I can almost guarantee you will love the process. You will develop passions and develop goals, and you'll naturally get into these flow states. And never forget that in life, the hardest road is usually the right one. The road that sacrifices today's pleasures for immeasurable pleasure in the future, that is another crux behind the art of letting go while simultaneously being your best self. Giving up is the easy road. So keep pushing. Start today. Start right now. Let's go, baby. I'll see you next time.